Okay, let's dive right into this. We're tackling a huge but super universal question. Why do we actually change? We all want to get better, but that real, lasting kind of change, it can feel next to impossible. Well, some really fascinating analysis suggests the answer isn't at all what we've been told. I mean, really, this is the question behind every single diet, right? Every gym membership that starts collecting dust. Every promise we make to ourselves that this time it's going to be different. We get all inspired. We set these big goals, and yet so often we just end up right back where we started. So what gives? And boom, here it is. This is the core idea, right here. Advice doesn't change behavior. Crisis does. Now, that's a pretty intense statement. It kind of challenges everything we think we know about self-improvement. It basically says all the books, all the talks, all the advice in the world, it's all pretty useless until something forces our hand. So let's start by kind of tearing down what we think works. We're going to take a hard look at why our most trusted tools for change, things like willpower and motivation, are actually more often than not doomed to fail. Do any of these look a little familiar? Yeah, of course they do. This is the playbook. We buy the self-help books. We make those New Year's resolutions. We watch the motivational videos. We try to just power through with sheer willpower. These are our go-to moves. But what if the entire game plan is just wrong? See, this is the story we absolutely love to tell ourselves. That one morning, we're just going to wake up, flooded with inspiration, and we'll grab our willpower and we'll just decide to be a whole new person. It's a great story, right? It makes us the hero. But it might just be a total myth that's actually holding us back. Okay, so if inspiration isn't the magic ingredient, then what is? Well, the argument here points to something way more uncomfortable, but also way more powerful. And that is pain. And this slide just lays it all out, doesn't it? It's such a stark contrast. Over on the left, you have the myth. All the things we like. Motivation, willpower, advice. It feels good, it feels like we're in control. But the reality, according to this analysis, is over on the right. Change isn't sparked by some fun new idea, but by the pain of staying exactly where you are. It's not driven by willpower, it's driven by a crisis. It's not about getting good advice, it's about pure, simple necessity. It's not a fun thought, I get it, but man, is it a powerful one. If you're being totally honest with yourself, just think for a second about the biggest changes you've ever made in your life. Did they come from a moment of calm, happy inspiration? Or did they come from a moment where you just hit a wall and thought, I cannot do this anymore? For most of us, it's almost always the second one. So how does this actually work? How does pain or a crisis become this massive turning point that we can't ignore? Let's break down the mechanics of how it all goes down. Now, let's be really clear about what we mean by crisis here. It doesn't have to be some huge, dramatic, movie-level event. A crisis in this context is simply that moment, that tipping point, where the pain of staying the same finally becomes greater than the fear of change. It's the point where your back is completely against the wall, and there's nowhere else to go. And this little progression here is so important. Most of us live in step one for a long time. Things aren't great, but they're tolerable. They're fine. Then you move into step two, and that discomfort starts to grow. It gets a little louder. But it's only when we slam into step three, that breaking point, that the whole game changes. Suddenly, change isn't a want to or a should do, it becomes a have to. It's not a choice anymore, it's survival. I know what you might be thinking right now. This all sounds kind of dark, pretty pessimistic, maybe even a little hopeless. So let's just address that head on. Why do we have such a strong, almost gut-level resistance to this whole idea? And here's the absolute core of it. This is why it's so tough to swallow. The idea that we only change when we're forced to is deeply unsettling, because it just shatters our belief that we're in the driver's seat of our own lives. It suggests we're not always calmly steering the ship, but that sometimes we're just reacting to a massive storm we didn't see coming. And that feeling of losing control is so powerful for a few reasons. First, we all want to be the hero of our own story, the one who makes the proactive choice. Second, we've been taught our whole lives that willpower is this incredible virtue, a sign of strong character. And maybe most importantly, we see pain as a sign that we failed, something to avoid at all costs, instead of seeing it for what it might actually be, a really, really important tool. Okay, so if we accept this uncomfortable idea, what are we supposed to do with it? Just wait around for things to get bad? No, of course not. This final part is all about how we can flip this idea on its head and turn it from a downer into a genuinely powerful strategy. This is the big reframe. This is everything. Instead of running away from discomfort or seeing a crisis as some kind of personal failure, what if we actually learn to listen to it? What if that nagging pain isn't the problem at all? What if it's actually a compass, pointing you directly toward what needs to change in your life? And that's really the question I want to leave you with. If you can understand that a crisis is often the real catalyst for change, you can stop waiting around for a bolt of lightning of motivation that might never even show up. Instead, you can start paying attention to the hard stuff, to the difficult moments, knowing they might just be the exact thing you need to finally make that real, deep, lasting change you've been searching for.